Many microphones we know and love were once forgotten and obsolete. Now they're only accessible to those at the highest level in their careers, commanding tens of thousands of dollars for one microphone, and that's if you can even find one. Some would say that these microphones have become priceless. So, how did we get here? If you're new here, my name's Jacob Samario, and I own English Oak Recording, a recording studio based here in Richmond, Virginia, and I help people make records. And today, we're going to be diving into one of my favorite books, Dan Alexander's A Vintage Odyssey. And to me, it's a really great coffee table book that I leave around the studio for anybody to read. And it details Dan's journey buying and selling vintage recording equipment from the 1970s on. Today, a world-class microphone like a vintage U47 costs $25,000. But believe it or not, back in the day, these microphones were dirt cheap, and we can see the data in Dan's book. On a more personal note, a U47 is a mic that I really want to own one day. And if you're looking at picking up a vintage example in 2025, here's what we're looking at. $26,000 for a vintage U47, $40,000 if you want a pair. Quick note, not sponsored, but shout out Vintage King. I've had a really great experience with them every time I've worked with them. Now, let's go to the craziest place on earth, reverb.com. Some people are asking $34,000, $35,000 for really niche specific versions of the U47. We're looking at $86,000 for that large badge variation. I'm not that nerdy to know what the difference with the large badge would be. I would assume it's a really early model. If you know, let me know down in the comments. It says that there was only 200 of the large badge U47s made. Let's fact check that. Yep, only a few hundred. So, if you want to find the rarest of the rare, get you a large badge vintage U47. If you look at Dan's sales log, you can see that he bought a vintage U47 for $378. Adjusted for inflation, that's $1,300 today. Not a bad price for a vintage U47. But it wasn't the U47 specifically that people didn't want. It was the technology inside of it. In the 1970s, solid state became the new standard, and what we got out of it were microphones like the Neumann U87, a microphone we all know and love today, which replaced the older, now outdated, U67, a microphone with a similar design, except it had a tube-based circuit opposed to that FET circuit that the Neumann U87 has. And as Dan puts it, tube microphones were undesirable or simply unknown by the majority of studios. And in the most extreme cases, these microphones were thrown away forever. Here's what he says. A European broadcast agency stomped on and threw away 200 Neumann M49 microphones. In today's money, that's a cool $2 million. Straight from Dan himself. And beyond technology, he says that there were many DIY studios back then where people weren't coming up in that traditional studio setting. And they simply didn't know what amazing mics were available to them 20 years ago. And even worse, they didn't know what amazing microphones were quietly being phased out as that new technology rolled in. And even though Dan's book takes place almost 50 years ago, this feels a lot like the recording landscape today. Many people are coming up in DIY settings. And there's nothing wrong with that. Technically, that's how I came up as well. But I think there's something to be learned from that traditional studio setting. And it's something I'm always chasing. And if you want to follow along in the journey, or if you've enjoyed the video so far, be sure to like and subscribe for more content just like this. Many times in Dan's book, he talks about going to studios and having them compare his tube microphones to their newer solid-state counterparts by conducting a blind test. And in many cases, the tube microphones won. As people have begun to embrace vintage recording technology, the demand for vintage recording equipment has continually risen, while the original stock has all but stayed the same. For context, there were only less than 6,000 vintage U47s ever made. And so that's how we got here, a $25,000 microphone. Do you think it's worth it? Let me know by dropping a comment down below, and I'll reply and tell you what I think as well. And if you like this video, we've got a bonus video that came out today as well. It's something a little bit different. I wanted to do a day in the life vlog style video showing you what it's like owning a studio. And I didn't pick an overly flashy day, it is just a random day in my week. Check it out, let me know if you like it, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks so much for watching.